was told that I can just be my authentic self, Chris.
I love intricate stories that take place across lots of different worlds, have lots of different meaningful characters.
What's the legacy of Halo and what's the soul that we want to bring forward and what's the craft of making Halo games?
We knew we had to make a change in order to take us into the future.
And how do we set our studio up best to go deliver on that?
Yeah, you guys ever notice how your favorite game franchises used to be so good, then suddenly the newer sequels feel like your mom developed it? Let's get into some examples. We have Halo, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, Call of Duty, Battlefield. I won't drag this out, I'll just say my theory. The devs, and I mean the original, talented, and experienced devs, are gone. They said see ya later.
See you later.
When the people who created the magic leave, studios don't lose talent, they lose the original vision, and once that happens, franchises rarely recover. I mean, sure, someone may have the qualifications on paper, but once they are in front of a computer with the coding program, are they going to make something unique or just code what they learned in university? And I believe that's why every game feels the same. Let's take an FPS for example. Everyone got taught on how to make a snappy, responsive feeling shooter. Now, most FPS games feel like this, but this is also an engine issue too. I believe it's a bad thing when most studios use the Unreal Engine. So let's go through some examples of franchises that crashed and burned. So we have the obvious one, the Microsoft killer. We have Halo, it was Bungie, and then it went to 343 Industries, and then they renamed themselves to Halo Studios. So the key people who left, we have Jason Jones, who was the co-creator of Halo and the founder of Bungie, Joseph Staten, lead writer, cinematic director from Halo CE through Reach. Marty O'Donnell, he was the composer for the music. Everyone knows him. From Halo 1 all the way to, I believe, Destiny 1. And then after Destiny 1, they had a falling out. And James Griesemer, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was the gameplay designer. They all went to work on Destiny after Halo. Some of them are no longer with Bungie at all. Halo was built by Bungie, a small, opinionated team with a clear identity. When Bungie left Microsoft in 2010, 343 Industries inherited the IP, but as we all learned, their new Halo games really had no soul. Just like the originals did, theirs did not. When I watch this video of the making of Halo 2, I see all men. Let's take a look at 343, now known as Halo Studios. Now I see mostly women. There is a clear pattern here when compared to quality of Bungie games versus 343 Industries games. 343 wasn't incompetent. I mean, their games were above average, above the typical shooter, let's say, but they just didn't create Halo, the original vision of Halo, and it shows. Their games had their own identities, but it was an identity that couldn't hold a candle to Bungie's Halo identity. And next we have Assassin's Creed. Some of you may remember Patrice Désilets.
I know a lot of people say, no, if you're, you cannot be a thinker, a visionary, it's useless. Well, I don't think so. I think you need both. You need a team, you need makers, you need to actual technicians. But eventually you need a guy say, okay, yeah, but I got a vision. You need Christopher Columbus. You need the guy say, oh, you know what if? Let's try to go there. And we'll go together. I need you guys to actually find out where this is, where is it, and what is it at the end. But yes, an author is important. There's always an author. Sometimes people like him when he's in front of a camera, so that's why he becomes an author. But there's always someone at the end that picks between blue and red, always, in every single team. And that's the author. And sometimes you don't know the guy, sometimes he's not really good, and sometimes he's better, and he knows how to communicate in front of a camera, so he becomes an author. But there's always someone. And me, I feel like, yes, I am one, but like I said, just a guy doing games, and that's it at the end. And I'm doing my best. And I touch some people don't like what I do. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
So Patrice Désilets was the creator and creative director. That's why if you ever felt like AC1 was so innovative, it was because of him. And then AC2 was a big jump up from AC1. After that, they got rid of him and they put out Revelations and Brotherhood, which were just copy and pastes of AC2. And then the games after that were also the same, until they turned into an RPG with Assassin's Creed Origins. And then all the games after that were copy-pasted RPGs. So Assassin's Creed peaked early for a reason. Like I just said, Patrice left after AC2, and Ubisoft quietly shifted the series into an annualized content machine. The first 2 Assassin's Creed games defined the franchise, defined Ubisoft's open world formula, which then set itself up for other games such as Far Cry, and it turned Assassin's Creed into a billion-dollar IP. They even had a movie. He wasn't just a dev, he was the creative voice behind the original vision, the historical conspiracy, mystery, restraint, slow burn storytelling. So why did he leave? Well, Ubisoft wanted yearly releases. After AC1 and 2 blew up, Ubisoft shifted hard into annualized releases, scalable franchise model, less creative risk, and more content volume. Patrice openly disliked this direction. He believed Assassin's Creed needed time. Overexposure would dilute the concept and the mystery and pacing would be lost. Well, he was right. So eventually, in 2010, he was removed from Assassin's Creed and reassigned to a new IP, which became 1666 Amsterdam. This wasn't mutual, it was corporate control taking over creative ownership. Once you're removed from your own creation, you're already gone. It just hasn't happened on paper yet. Ubisoft eventually fired him completely while he was on vacation. And this is the infamous part. In 2013, he returned from vacation, was locked out of the building, was told he was no longer employed. There was no transition, no public explanation, just gone. This seriously damaged Ubisoft's reputation internally and externally. And Ubisoft even killed his new IP. After firing him, Ubisoft kept 1666 Amsterdam, shelved it indefinitely, refused to let him take it elsewhere, so he lost Assassin's Creed, his new project, and creative control entirely. That's when the relationship fully burned down. And as you all may know, what happened to Assassin's Creed after he left and was just replaced with generic run-of-the-mill developers with no experience, or maybe a little experience. We got annual releases, bloated maps, RPG mechanics stapled on, loss of mystery, identity, and fatigue set in. Even Ubisoft later admitted they oversaturated the franchise. Quality suffered. They literally paused the series years later because of this. Once the creator was gone, Assassin's Creed stopped being a vision and became a brand, just like Halo. And just like our next franchise.
But I think there was another challenge out there for us. We basically wanted to do something very similar, make a console RPG, on the PC, on the console. We wanted it to be a little bit more accessible in terms of action that people understand versus kind of a D20 turn-based thing. We wanted to do something similar but better in a few ways. And we knew there was another challenge out there, which is, what if we could create our own universe for this and not play in someone else's as much as we love Star Wars?
Mass Effect. So Casey Hudson and the original BioWare team. So the key people here, Casey Hudson, who was the project director of the Mass Effect trilogy, Drew Karpyshyn, who was their lead writer of Mass Effect 1 and 2 and KOTOR, and Ray Mazeika and Greg Zeschuk, who are the BioWare founders. So Ray and Greg, they co-founded BioWare in 1995, sold it to EA in 2007. Both left BioWare and the games industry in 2012. Publicly said they were burned out by corporate pressures and AAA development. After they left, BioWare shifted harder towards live service thinking, more executive oversight from EA, and less autonomy for individual teams. You may know that 2012, after they left, what was the last game that came out in 2012? Mass Effect 3. When did Mass Effect go downhill? After Mass Effect 3. In fact, a lot of EA games like Dragon Age went downhill after, in the 2014, 2013 time period. Casey Hudson, he was the project director on Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3. He left BioWare in 2014, which is also when the last decent Dragon Age game came out. He returned briefly in 2017 to fix BioWare after Andromeda and Anthem, and then left again in 2020 permanently, probably because he realized that's a sinking ship. Mass Effect Andromeda was made without Hudson leading it, clearly. Next, we got Drew Karpyshyn. He was the lead writer on Mass Effect 1 and 2. He left BioWare in 2012 and went on to write novels and smaller projects. Clearly, they must have been less stress, which is why he did it. His departure is one of the biggest reasons fans cite for the tonal shift after Mass Effect 2. If you all remember, Mass Effect 3's story was not the whole story, but the ending was a complete mess, and they had to release a DLC to fix the ending. So the result, yes, founders gone, lead writer gone, original director absent during Andromeda, studio pivoted to Anthem, a live service, which failed, and, who knows what EA's doing nowadays. I think they're being sold off to Saudi. Anyway, Mass Effect wasn't just sci-fi, it was a character-driven storytelling opera. After the original leadership left, Andromeda felt technically fine, but emotionally hollow. Yeah, It was the same IP, the same name, but completely different DNA, just like Halo, just like Assassin's Creed. And I mean, that's really it for the games industry, for the great unstoppable franchises turning into doo-doo. Just kidding, it's not even close. Next, we have Call of Duty Infinity Ward. If you remember Vince Zampella, rest in peace, and Jason West. So these people, they were on the Infinity Ward team. So Vince Zampella, he was the co-founder of Infinity Ward. Jason West was the co-founder of Infinity Ward. A couple of their big games were Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 2009. I believe they also made Call of Duty 2. I forget about that one. These games changed FPS games forever. Ultimately, Activision owed them money, didn't pay them, and fired them. They then sued Activision and won. So this was around 2010, and that is why the 2011 Modern Warfare 3, which I did not buy because it wasn't made by the original people, just felt like a literal copy and paste of Modern Warfare 2, but just, I guess, more balanced, but worse maps. Zampella and West then founded Respawn. They went on to create games like Titanfall, Apex Legends, Jedi Fallen Order, and Battlefield 6. Well, at least Zampella did for Battlefield 6. These games, you can just tell, have a little more soul, a little more identity. I remember playing Titanfall 1 and 2, and it was just so original at the time. Apex Legends was also a more innovative battle royale. I didn't really like the Jedi Fallen Order games, and Battlefield 6 was the best Battlefield since Battlefield 1. And again, why is that? Because they got a lead developer that can literally change a game's direction completely. So at the end of the day, Call of Duty survived, technically, but innovation left the building completely. They just took what Vince had built and copied pasted it over the next 15 years, just like Assassin's Creed. We've got some honorable mentions I should add. Now these games had their lead creators leave, and then they just turned hollow. Dead Space 3 doesn't hold a candle to 1 and 2. Dragon Age, The Veilguard doesn't hold a candle to Dragon Age 1, 2, and Inquisition. Battlefield, that's a big one. After Battlefield 1 in 2016, there was a big turnover of lead devs leaving, and you get Battlefield 5 in 2018, that dumpster fire, and Battlefield 2042, another dumpster fire, until you got Vince to come back. Well, not come back, he was never originally a part of DICE, but you got Vince to come and make a decent Battlefield game in Battlefield 6. And Gears of War, made by Epic Games. If you remember Cliff, he was the figurehead of Gears 1, 2, and 3.
I think my job is on the line for Epic Games if we don't do well at this show.
After Gears 3 in 2011, Epic left to go make the godly Fortnite, and Gears of War was continued on with Judgment Day, I think it was called, or just Judgment. Anyway, you can tell that was just a spin-off that wasn't from the original creators, but don't worry, Microsoft created the Coalition, and we got Gears 4 and 5. Yeah. I mean, I love being a female character in a Gears game. That was my dream. Great idea, Xbox. So why does this keep happening? I don't blame the original creators for leaving. They had a popular IP, and they made the best versions of that IP that they could. Looking at some of the final games of these franchises from the original creators, such as Gears of War 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mass Effect 3, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, and Halo Reach. Where else could they go from there? The publishers wanted more because they knew the IP would sell, but the original visionaries had already perfected the formula. It was time for something new and original. Unfortunately, the publishers won't let that happen. Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, Activision, just to name a few. They need these franchises to continue for their investors. To be honest, that's why I respect Sony when it comes to this part of the business. Their studios will sometimes tell them that they can't make another sequel that's the same. The formula is old and boring now. Players want something new. Sony seems to understand this, and they give the green light for the change. That's why the Sony franchises always seem fresh and new. After God of War Ascension, they went to God of War 4, which was a completely different style of game. Naughty Dog went from Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter to Uncharted to The Last of Us. Insomniac went from Spyro to Ratchet & Clank to Spider. Sucker Punch Studios went from Infamous to Ghost of Tsushima. Guerrilla Games went from Killzone to Horizon Zero Dawn. Hell, even Nintendo did a lot of switch-ups with their popular franchises like Mario, Donkey Kong, and Zelda. Later games completely changed the format and style from 2D to 3D and other types of things they changed as well in those games. Others, however, such as Microsoft, refused to change. I remember hearing a story about how the Coalition had a game idea that was similar to Splinter Cell, but Microsoft essentially said, nah, put the gears for it in the bag, little bro. Big studios don't replace creators, they replace roles. But vision isn't a job title. The people who built these worlds didn't just have resumes, they had taste, instincts, and ownership. They knew what they wanted to put into their games to make them new, innovative, and distinctly their own. So when gamers say it doesn't feel the same anymore, they're not being nostalgic. They're noticing that the people who made it special are gone. So yeah, I just wanted to share this. I've always thought about this when people complain about games and they don't know why. I always knew it's literally the people who are literally making them. Yeah, that's it for today's video. If you like the video, then like the video. I'll see you in the next one.
I was told that I can just be my authentic self, Chris.